Today I fucked up by accidentally rickrolling 8 cities. I currently work for my local government in their communications department, making videos, flyers, social media posts, and pretty much everything else they need. Part of the job involves putting in placeholder text and links, since I'll be told we need a link to this resource but it's not available. There's an unspoken agreement that if I'm not given an actual link, I will link to random things. Sometimes it's a viral video, sometimes it's an anime meme, and sometimes it's music videos to what I'm listening to. This is just for the draft, so it doesn't matter, and usually just gives me something fun to add on. For the past few months, I've been working on a large campaign of flyers to promote a program to my neighboring area of 500,000 people, and at the time, I was listening to a lot of 80s new wave and decided to see if anyone is actually testing that the QR codes and shorteners work, that I directed everything to go to Rickastly. Figured if anyone checked it, I'd get an email commenting on it. Time goes by, the official links are the last to be given to me, so I add them in, send everything to my supervisor to approve before going to the printer to have 5,000 copies printed of each variation. My work with the project is done, and now it's up to others to start putting them while I move on to the next project. That was 2 weeks ago. This morning, I get pulled into a Zoom meeting with the other department heads and their bosses. They ask me about the link and I tell them I checked the QR code and shortener before sending it for review, and if there's an error to look at the printer. I even pull up the finalized versions and verified it works. They get more serious and say that the printer wouldn't replace the links with a music video, thinking I screwed up or just did it on purpose. Turns out that the posters and flyers had been put around the county in local businesses, bus stops, out lobbies, etc., and emails started to come in. I'm more surprised that anyone actually used the QR codes or links to begin with. After getting grilled, thinking I was going to get fired, I forwarded the email I sent to my supervisor with the final versions of the graphics, and they went to the correct links. Best we can figure out is that since there had been dozens of versions over a few months, that someone along the chain of command mixed up an earlier version that included the Rickroll link when placing the order. No one wants to take blame for it. We're currently in the process of retrieving everything and debating on having stickers printed out to cover the links or pay to have everything reprinted. Even though it wasn't my fault, I'm now supposed to use dummy links and QR codes that go to an image of a tree. My time of adding random music videos has been halted. Too long didn't read. Today I fucked up by an early version of a multi-city promotional flyers got sent to the printers that contain draft links to Never Gonna Give You Up by Rickastly instead of the correct version, and was only discovered after they had already been put up across the area. Edit, hot damn. Didn't expect my 4 AM. I need to take a break from my workload post to take off. Thank you all for the awards and assuring me that my placeholder methods are genius. Front page edit. Since this is making the rounds on design subreddits and discords, might as well plug my portfolio in the event I get fired and need a new job. First, that is absolutely hysterical. I love it. Second, at least now you know the answer is that none of these other idiots double check those codes. I'd like to think they'll check for the next few weeks and then go back so I can see how far I can push what I use as draft links. I'd like to believe that whoever mixed up the versions did so knowingly and also wanted to partake in a county-wide rickroll. Removed. Imagine reading a poster and randomly getting fucking rickrolled. To make it worse, it's for COVID testing stations for public health. They're supposed to follow the link to a GIS map where they can find the nearest location. Someone along the chain of command mixed up an earlier version. No one wants to take blame for it. This was your supervisor. Typical rules for you but not for me in action. The best we can figure out is that since there had been dozens of versions over a few months, that someone along the chain of command mixed up an earlier version that included the Rickroll link when placing the order. Promo flyer v36b final v2 final signed off final do not alter v4 final.pst. It's mind-boggling how few organizations outside of tech companies have figured out a sensible version control system. Today I fucked up by losing my cat on the side of the highway somewhere in Kentucky. I recently closed my lease in Florida to move back into my dad's house in Chicago. I'm working from home, don't need to be paying rent in FL if I can just live with family instead. So, I pack my shit up, store the rest in a storage unit, close my lease, and hit the road. My cat, Randall Flagg, accompanied me in the car as we drove through Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and then Kentucky. I was going about 105 miles per hour in a 70 miles per hour zone when the KY state trooper pulled me over. I was making incredible time moving that quickly, but obviously the risk is being pulled over or death. Anyway, state trooper comes to the passenger side of my car to stay away from highway speed traffic. My car was already off, so my window did not roll down when I tried that. Instead, he opened the door. During the discussion, we actually addressed the fact that my cat Randall could escape, and I asked if I could step out and keep the car sealed. That didn't end up happening. After the traffic stop, maybe about a minute of driving later, I realize Randall is not in the car anymore. Bolt of absolute panic. I pull over, again. This time without a state trooper behind me. I frantically shout for him inside the car. Check the footboxes, seats, his little nooks. Nothing. My mind racing, I leave the car on the side of the highway, and begin running back south to where I was pulled over. I reach the area, completely spent. Voices totally thrashed from shouting over the sound of the highway for Randall. The woman who lives next to the highway, where I was pulled over, hasn't seen him. I have burrs all over my shoes and shorts from tromping through the Kentucky woods and fields next to the highway. Call the non-emergency number, my vet, my mom, dad. 45 minutes of shouting and walking along the highway. Serious emotional distress. My boy, my best bud is lost in these fucking woods somewhere. I see a state trooper nearby. He's very helpful and actually drives me back around to the area I lost Randall to keep looking, and gets the officer who pulled me over to come back also. No luck. I interact with more nice families in the area, leaving my number with them. Randall Flagg is hiding somewhere out there and he is too scared to come out. Or, God forbid, he was hit. Can't think about that right now. The officers help me relax, take me back to my car back north up the highway. A detective with the troopers helps me look around the car again, just in case. No Randall. My car is now dead when I try to start it. BC the hazards were on too long. Great. I have some jumper cables stuffed inside somewhere, but it's full of my shit as I'm moving, so I have to start pulling things out. Trooper with me didn't have cables, somehow. So I'm pulling bags out to access the area where the cables are, when I see motherfucking Randall Flagg's fuzzy black ass inside a half-full garbage bag that had a lot of my clothes and towels in it. He's totally asleep, peaceful as a fat baby. I apologize to the officers profusely, but they are completely professional about it, just glad that he's been found. They help me jump my car, and I get rolling again. Stayed much closer to the speed limit after that. Randall Flagg and I safely made it to Chicago the next day. He's extremely comfortable here at my dad's. Too long didn't read. I was pulled over and my cat escaped into the Kentucky woods next to a highway, but not really. He was just asleep in my car. I worked on my cardio and made friends in rural Kentucky while looking for him. My cat actually did escape at a truck stop once. I ended up buying a raccoon trap, one of the humane, live capture ones, and stayed there overnight looking for him. I was able to find him the next morning, but I was frantic until then. I'm glad your fuzzball is safe and sound. I love that you named your cat Randall Flagg. Hope you made a pit stop at Hemingford home. Lol. Glad the walking dude is safe. The dark man is a surprisingly good boy. This is certainly the most villainous thing he'll ever do to me. That was a stressful read. So glad Randall Flagg is safe. Oh my god, I was so panicked for you. Total relief reading that he was there the whole time. Oh my, so glad. It was such a huge relief to see him asleep, safe and sound. I can't get over the fact that your cat has a last name. WTH! Exclamation mark. I'm really glad that Randall Flagg is doing well and probably isn't even aware of the trouble you went through. Crazy experiences make good stories. Pro tip: Next time get a cage for him, or a leash. I have a modified leash with a seatbelt clip. I just buckle him up so he wouldn't get out, but at the same time it won't be restricting his freedom to move. Cheers. That's a good idea. He could still move around the cabin, but I know he can't run off. Thanks. Today I fucked up by eating atomic wings then having relations with my wife. This happened last night. We decided to order takeout from a local restaurant. I love spicy food. Last time we had their food, I ordered their hot wings, but they weren't very hot. So this time around, I ordered the hottest they had, which was atomic. And let me tell you, these had a kick. My lips burned for an hour. I could only eat about 2/3 before I had to throw in the towel. Later that night, we went to bed. We had both had a few drinks and one thing led to another. Here's where I fucked up. I began fingering her. About 10 seconds later she asks me, "You washed your hands, right?" To which I reply, "Of course." She instantly jumps out of bed and runs into the bathroom. I hear the bidet turn on. Apparently I hadn't washed thoroughly enough. So as she was cooling off, I washed them again. We hopped back in bed and resumed. I began playing with hole number 2. A few seconds later, she jumps out of bed screaming, "Now my asshole is burning," and runs back to the toilet. After another rinse, she returns and says, "No more hands." I'm writing this from the toilet, paying the toll for said wings. They burn on the way out too. Too long, didn't read. 8 atomic wings then burn my wife's privates hours later. Update, getting a lot of comments saying this is fake and gets posted all the time. All I can say is this did in fact happen to me last night and I wasn't aware it was such a common post. Sorry. And for those curious, the wings were from beef for Brady's. At some point people who sub here should learn to not handle spicy food and then touch naughty bits with how many stories this is happening. That or teach it in elementary school. You know what stories you don't read here? People not looking both ways before crossing into a busy street. I don't think that's the reason people don't write stories about not looking before crossing. You gave her the buffalo wings. Coitus en fuego. I just forwarded this to my wife saying, "See, I'm not the only one. Did this when we first started dating." She has never let me forget. That sounds miserable. My grandpa was a chemist and he informed me that after eating or handling spicy foods/ingredients, rub vegetable oil to get the capsaicin off your skin before washing with soap and water. The capsaicin is hydrophobic and not super great in water, but it is quite soluble in fats, so it removes it better. Hope this helps any future sensitive bits.